Welcome everyone. My name is Sean, and today we got to talk about one of my least favorite topics in American political discourse, and that, of course, is the transes. Now, you guys should know by now on this channel that I am pretty libertarian in terms of my social policy. I don't care what adults do. If you want to get procedures or whatever, I might personally advise against that, but you are free to alter and augment your body as you please. That being said, there is an element to the transes where they want people to ignore logic, ignore reality, and allow them to do things that are clearly and obviously infringing on other people, and this is made no more clear than in the realm of sports, and that's what we gotta talk about, because an organization that does combat sports, grappling, jiu-jitsu, allowed transes to compete against biological women without even informing them, and the results turned out exactly the way that you would expect when you allow this to occur. So we got to talk about it, we got to discuss it, we got to talk about how these women fighting back against the transes actually produce a change in policy. But before we do, I want to say thank you to everybody who signed up over on actualjusticewarrior.com/join.
Give me the money. Give me the money, okay?
And thank you to the podcast listeners, Spotify, Apple, and Google's podcasting platform. So first and foremost, I think this should be made obvious right off the top. The purpose of men's sports, also known as sports, is to have the most competitive people on the field at the same time, to understand who is the best, what team is the best, depending on the sport, and that is the goal, purpose, and why people tend to enjoy male sports. Female sports, by contrast, have one single purpose, which is to limit the competition in those sports to biological women. The whole point of having the female category is to limit competition and avoid biological males from participating, because biological males have an advantage over female competitors that we cannot compensate for in any way, and honestly what we would end up with is just another bracket of male sports if we did not have this distinction. So men's sports, completely competitive, allow anybody to participate. In fact, most men's sports leagues have no barring of females to get on the field, but the reason why women don't pitch in Major League Baseball or play in the NFL is because that level of skill and athleticism at the top of the spectrum is exclusive to men, and they cannot do it. If they ever can, if there's ever one special double, triple, quadruple unicorn pitch in MLB, then I will be happy to start that person, bring them out of the bullpen or whatever. But the fact of the matter is, the chances you're going to find a woman who throws 99 miles per hour and have a devastating curveball, it's just not realistic. So let's accept and acknowledge that reality and understand that by allowing biological males to participate in female sports, you are neutralizing the sole purpose of those sports. So of course, with that being said, the North American Grappling Association allowing biological males, aka people who call themselves transgender women, to compete against women led to the results that we can all expect, and this produced the backlash that we're going to talk about. But let's first talk about the basis of this. So recently, female martial artists refused to participate in a tournament last weekend after biological men took over the women's category. In an interview with Redux, the female athletes expressed fear for their safety as male competitors have repeatedly infiltrated the sport. And by the way, this peaceful protest worked, because as of Saturday, the North American Grappling Association completely changed their policy, because having all the women quit from the women's division is a disastrous thing to have happen to you. Now, some of my more skeptical members of the audience might be asking themselves, wait a minute, Sean, I know you're saying that biological males have an advantage against females, but I heard on the internet.com that the difference between men and women is actually socially constructed, and biology is made up, and math and science also don't exist, even though that's completely unrelated. So is there any actual evidence that these biological males were dominating Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu? Did I mention that there's not that many transes in the first place? So you're gonna have to come up with some evidence. Well, I will say, made up person that I make sound like that mocking voice that doesn't actually exist, you're dead wrong. Your straw man that I set up for myself is actually incredibly easy to knock down because the proof in the pudding is in the taste. And guess what? The results, the taste, it's pretty bad for the argument that there's no distinction at all whatsoever. As recently as October 21st, in the Georgia Grappling Championship, the podium was filled with all male competitors in the women's division. Cordelia Gregory and Carissa Griffith took first and second place respectively. They are both tranz athletes, and Griffith actually won 4 total gold medals in women's events that day. The female athletes were reportedly not even notified that they were going to be matched up against males. And in one of the brackets, so many women ended up quitting because it was revealed to them last minute that they were going to engage in a dangerous combat sport against a biological male, that the entire bracket was all trans women. Exactly what the left says would never happen. There's not enough of them in order to do that. Ended up happening, so it's unsurprising based on those circumstances that you end up with biological males at the podium and one of them winning 4 gold medals. And is having the female athletes just quit the best result? Is that the best possible outcome? Do you feel progressive about that actually occurring? Women not being allowed in their own sports that are designed specifically to not allow biological males to compete, completely undermining the whole process? I think not. I think that's ridiculous. I think that's absurd. Again, not even trying to hate people who go through the transition or anything like that, but the purpose of women's sports is abundantly clear, and ignoring that purpose is just producing all of these absurdities. By the way, this is not the first time that this has happened. NAGA received widespread criticism in September of this year after a female jiu-jitsu athlete had not been informed she would be competing against a male. Taylor Moore posted a clip of her fight against Alice McPike on Instagram, noting that there was a 65-pound weight difference between the two competitors. Immediately following the backlash, NAGA clarified its policies on transgender inclusion, saying, quote, NAGA does not require biological males to compete against transgender women. Instead, we give the choice to the biological women, and if they decline, they compete in a division with only other biological women. Now, by the way, there are images and there was a video posted to social media of this particular bout where the person comes in with a 65-pound weight advantage and they were born a male against this woman who is significantly smaller. And I don't know anything about Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, so I can't grade the technique on this, but it looks like to me, the layman, that the biological male just overwhelms this girl by physical force alone, and the technique seems like it's pretty sloppy. I don't know that for sure. I don't know if that is provable. Maybe some of you out there in the audience that know a little bit more about fighting can judge it, but it's pretty bad looking. It obviously does not look like it fits. Even the still images are bad. And again, I'm not trying to make fun of the trans person in this particular image, but you can obviously see if you turn off your woke brain and turn on your logical brain that this is an unfair advantage that is plain to the eye. I even wear glasses. If I took off my glasses, I'd still be able to see that, and I could barely see anything without my glasses. Now, by the way, even though I don't know anything about jiu-jitsu or grappling or anything like that, my instincts about the poor approach of the trans person were actually correct. The 135-pound woman beat the 200-pound biological male due to the fact that she had the technique. But still, she wasn't informed that she was going to be fighting this person until she showed up to fight this person. That's the problem. Look, overall, if you were to talk to a random trans person, I'm sure when you cut through the ideology and all the other things that seem to come associated with that identification, what you would find is that they just want to be accepted or bare minimum to be tolerated. And I think tolerance is something that we should amplify more than acceptance, more than even blind no judgment, as the left always likes to say, because tolerance just means people can do what they want. You may or may not like it. You may or may not want to be associated with it, but you're not going out of your way actively to do harm to those individuals. As long as it's not impacting you personally, then you leave it alone and you fight battles on things that actually have impact on society or have more impact on society. But the thing is this sports thing is not something that you can just tolerate. It's not something that you can just accept unless you are willfully blind to the biological realities between men and women. It's all fine and dandy to say, hey, I'm gonna call this person a her in the context of, I saw that person at the bar, it looked like a gal, so I said, look over there, that lady over there. That's one thing, but it's another thing to pretend that the biological differences between men and women don't exist, and then allow women to be victimized in combat sports that are designed specifically to protect them from this victimization, just because you want to pretend that you're the most accepting person ever on planet Earth. Just because you want to pretend that you could be willfully blind more than any other person, and honestly, I find that to be incredibly disgusting. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. If you can compete with the men, I don't care what gender, what sex, whatever you are, you go and compete with the men. That league is designed to be the best, most athletic league. However, the women's league is something entirely different. It is designed to limit competition specifically to biological women, and I'm not going to just tolerate all of these people who are born male jumping in the league based on self-identification. And you definitely shouldn't spring that on women. They shouldn't have had to do this, but I'm glad that NAGA was embarrassed to the point where they had to retract this ridiculous policy. But hey, those are just my thoughts. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. If you like this video, then show them by leaving a like. Subscribe for more content. Follow me on all my social media. Support me via the support links in the description of this video. This has been me talking about yet another transes in sports story. Till next time.